Hi, I'm Ben Detweiler, and I'm joined today with Miranda Kravitz to talk about the Anime Club. So, what is the Anime Club?
The Anime Club is a club started by me and 3 other people in my freshman year, where people come together to enjoy anime, manga, Japanese, and fandom culture.
And what are these kind of things that you talk about, like manga? What is manga?
Manga is, I suppose, the Japanese equivalent of a comic book.
What is anime? Like, when you say anime, what is it?
Anime is not the Japanese equivalent of a cartoon. There are cartoons in Japan, and those are not anime. Anime is its own sort of media and style of animation that often have long overarching plots to them, sort of like one ongoing animated movie with more realistic animation than you would expect from other forms of animation, and generally come from Japan, though some shows in America, such as Avatar: The Last Airbender, some people consider to be an American anime.
How do you draw anime? Is there a specific way that makes it different than everything else?
There are some art styles in anime that you'll find in every single manga and every single anime, but there is a lot of variation. What a lot of people do is they'll redraw characters or draw their own unique characters in the art style of a mangaka, which is someone who writes a manga that they really like. For example, I've drawn a lot of Clamp characters through my years in drawing anime and manga. And so now, even when I draw my own things, it still looks a little bit like it was drawn by Mokana Papa, who's one of the artists from Clamp.
Would you be able to tell us some famous anime drawers that you guys talk about?
Like I said, I am a huge fan of Clamp. That's 4 women who write manga collaboratively. They're Mokana Papa, Nanase Okawa. I don't know the other 2 because they're not as outgoing. Yoshihiro Togashi is a huge mangaka, and there are a few others that I can't think of right now that are very popular.
What gave you the idea to start this club here at the high school?
It actually wasn't my idea. One of the 3 other people who founded it with me came to me and said that they were looking for people who would be interested in pushing this idea forward, and I helped them make it. I just happened to be sort of the most pushy of the group and ended up, in the end, being the one who stuck with it the longest, and that's how I ended up being the leader and main founder.
Okay, so what is your membership like?
We have approximately 30 members. We fill up a whole classroom every time we meet.
How often do you meet?
We meet every Tuesday, directly after school, for about a half hour to an hour.
Where do you usually meet?
We meet in Mr. Irvine's room, room number 311.
And how can someone join if they'd like to?
They can just show up. Sometimes if we notice that we have new people, we'll make them give introductions, so beware, we'll make you speak, but you can walk right in.
What do you usually do at your meetings?
We split up into groups because we're so large. We have one group where people work on learning Japanese because that's really useful when you're watching a lot of anime in Japanese. There are some words that just can't be translated and have much deeper meaning when you know the Japanese behind them. I always use the example that there's a show called Tsubasa Chronicles, which Tsubasa are wings, and a character leaves to go face a challenge that might cost him his life, and when he walks out the door while his friends are begging him not to go, he says, "Itekimasu." And if someone asks you what itekimasu means, you can't possibly tell them. They put on the bottom that he said goodbye, and that's not right, because he said itekimasu. We also have a group where people bring in their art and work on improving, where the better artists out of the club help other people improve their art. We have a group where we just discuss anime and manga, and where people bring in their fan fiction that they've written and we read it. And we have a group where we play games like Shogi, Go, or even people have brought in anime video games.
If someone here in the States was looking to see anime in action, are there any specific TV shows that they could watch?
There are actually a lot of places, like TV channels, that you can get, or things that will stream anime. Most people watch anime on the internet, but there are programs like Neon Alley where you can hook up Neon Alley, much like Netflix, to an Xbox or a television and watch your anime through that.
What plans do you have this year?
We don't have any set plans this year besides breaking up into groups and enjoying anime, though we might bring back an idea from previous years. There's been a little bit of talk about bringing back WashiCon and trying to hold our own anime convention here at the school.
What is Shoji Go in this WashiCon?
Shoji Go? Oh, Shoji and Go.
Oh, so,
Shoji
okay.
is a game where you move pieces with kanji on a board. They all have their own movements, much like chess, but it's a lot more complicated. You can take other people's pieces, and then as your turn, take one of the pieces that are out of the game, put it in the game. The pieces are little pentagons, so you just make them pointing in your direction. Go is another Japanese board game where you have black and white stones and try to block off areas.
Sounds pretty complicated. I don't think that I could be able to do that. So, who is currently your sponsor, and how did he come about being your sponsor?
Mr. Irvine is our sponsor. We had to change rooms, and someone asked him, and he said he would be all right with hosting Anime Club. So we have used his room since.
Do you have any field trips planned?
We actually don't have any field trips planned, though we do have some money in our budget from last year's fundraiser that we're deciding what to do with. So we do have options such as field trips. We'd like to take a field trip possibly to Sakura Sunday, which is the center of the Philadelphia area Cherry Blossom Festival that most people don't even know exists, but it's a really great event all throughout the greater Philadelphia area. There are taiko drummers and special art exhibits and that large festival day in Fairmount Park.
What do you usually do at a convention, like if you would go to one?
There are tons of different things to do at anime conventions, and everyone has something different that they enjoy. So my main thing with anime conventions is that I like to do cosplay masquerades. I like to sew costumes and write a skit involving characters from anime and perform it at the anime convention, which a lot of people do. There are also people who go down there to play the games like Iron Artist, where it's a on-the-spot drawing competition. There are people who do the panels. I do go to a lot of panels, which are more informative sessions. I went to a convention called NAHS, and one of the panels was the information release of the new Pokemon for that upcoming Pokemon game. So sometimes at anime conventions, you get to know things before other people do. There are workshops where they taught us how to make Pocky and Mochi, which are Japanese confections, how to make kanzashi, which are like origami but with fabric and you sew them, how to make teru teru bozu, which are Japanese weather amulets, and all sorts of other workshops like that.
What is cosplay, like cosplay?
Cosplay comes from the words costume and role play. It's when people dress as anime characters and sort of bring them to life. And that sounds like very formal and very geeky, but it's really just people running around having a great time pretending to be these characters.
What are some popular characters that people usually are?
It changes with what's the new popular anime. At one point, when I started going to anime conventions, everyone was a Vocaloid. I went to a cosplay ball where it was a dance. We have dances at anime conventions too. And there were 3 people who were all dressed as different variations of the same Vocaloid. And that was just the people who did the strange versions. There were some 24 other people dressed as Vocaloids. And we ran into, the 3 of us who were all dressed as Len, who's a Vocaloid, ran into Kaito, who's a Vocaloid, and started talking to him, and it was practically a Vocaloid convention. Nowadays, Attack on Titan is a big one to dress from, Kuroshitsuji. A lot of people do Maho Shoujo Madoka Magica.
What is a Vocaloid and what kind of anime has it come from?
A Vocaloid is actually not from an anime, but it is from Japan and often drawn in a similar style. The Vocaloids are virtual pop stars. They change voice actors, but they have personalities associated with them. And their various songs and music videos often have them in character or make up completely insane stories and present a storyline. There's something called the Of Evil saga, that's Daughter of Evil, Servant of Evil, then Regret Message, and Rebirth Day, where they take 2 of the Vocaloids and construct an intricate story where the 2 twins are separated at birth, and one of them ends up ruling a kingdom, the other ends up being the servant, and he has to burn down a neighboring country because the ruler twin is evil, and the girl he loves wants to marry someone in that country, and it's just complete madness. But then you can turn around and do completely different songs. I've seen the same characters represented as shy high school students. So Vocaloids people love because they're so versatile.
Do you know of any upcoming conventions or events that are happening around here that someone could go to if they're interested in?
Mostly small ones are coming up around this time of year. There's KatoriCon just in New Jersey, like close to Pennsylvania in New Jersey. And there's also SetsuCon, which is out toward the middle of the state, but those are both smaller conventions. KatoriCon donates all of the money they make to charity, which is really nice. The bigger conventions are going to be in March, April, July, and they're like ZenkaiCon and the like.
What's your favorite convention to go to?
I really liked ZenkaiCon 5. I didn't like ZenkaiCon 6, and I really liked ZenkaiCon 7. So I think overall ZenkaiCon is my favorite one that lasts. My favorite that I've ever gone to was probably a NOCHACon, but that no longer runs. They've been trying to bring it back, but...
Is there a specific theme for each of these conventions, or is it just like a name that they give to a
It's usually just a name that they give. A lot of anime conventions do have cute mascots. KatoriCon has a little chick because Katori is a word for bird. It actually means baby bird, but it's often used just to mean bird to not get it confused with a tori, which is a Shinto shrine gate.
All right, is there anything else you'd like to add?
No, that's about it.
All right, well, thanks for joining us today. I'm Ben Detweiler, and I was just joined with Miranda Kravitz to talk about the Anime Club. Now back to Eagle's Eye.